There we go. That's better.
4?
I don't know how
Oh, this is live. Okay, we're live. Hi, everybody.
Yeah, we're live.
Awesome. Great.
Right there. You can take the power supply, yeah, that one, and plug it into the back of the camera.
Yeah,
Take your
yeah,
time. Take your time.
there we go. Okay, I'm going to share the show right now.
Share.
Share,
Hey,
share,
Adrian,
share.
Gary Hyman, how are you?
I'm
Yeah.
doing well, Gary. How you doing?
Very good. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited. This is awesome.
Right on.
Absolutely.
So how was your week, Gary?
Pretty good. I beat up at least one corporation,
Sweet.
so I got my way with that one. I'll have to
man.
tell you that story after the show.
You're slow, man. That's a slow week for you, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, Gary's trying to be more mellow now. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Only
Just
one
like that.
corporate victim per week.
Yeah,
nice.
per week. And on the very bottom, there's a little yellow tab. You'll see. There's a little grommet in back of it. You know, the little grommet. Pull the grommet and then plug it in. You got your little flashlight? Yeah.
Oh, we don't want to hear that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Very bottom should be a yellow.
Joys of sharing the show. Yeah, you've had a busy week this week, Burnie.
Oh, I did 7
Great.
shooting
And
days
then
this week, so
on,
it's like the
on
old
a little
days,
power
like the
switch
regular
with
days.
batteries.
You know,
just
that was
And,
pretty
you see the
amazing.
viewfinder, it
Of course,
should
I
show
have
up, plug in with the
nothing
battery.
or possibly one. There's a
Anything
potential
on
one
the right-hand corner,
next week.
upper left,
So,
or
you
right.
know, next week does not
Mine
look on
show.
fire for me, but who knows? We'll
Battery
see.
It's
indicator.
reality, yeah. Did we ever think we were going to be at a point where we were saying the good old days?
Last time I didn't see my battery
Oh.
bar. That's one thing in the
Which were
menu.
Of course,
What,
at my
6
age, Tony, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of good old
Should
days.
be like
Yeah,
a
but the
little
good old
thing.
days were only 6 months ago. So
Yeah, I know. That's the amazing thing.
Yeah, I probably took off the indicator. But as
Yeah.
long as you're plugged in, Wade, you're good.
So,
Okay. And then Wade, Iris up just a taste.
geez, Gary's still field directing.
no, I
out
know he
there.
is, man. You know,
Unbelievable.
yeah, he's got to
Is
do
that
all
not
of his
all
setup on the air and not off the air.
Kick it to 3 dB on the side there, Wade.
I think he's just trying to sound important.
I'm creating problems.
Nice.
So you can solve
The game.
So-
Get your your game. Get your flashlight.
Hey,
And,
thanks for watching, Ivan. Thanks for tuning in today. Appreciate it.
Great. Yes, thank you, Ivan.
It says
Awesome,
game.
buddy. Really
And it says
appreciate
low,
it.
medium. Kick
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, if you're out there watching, say hi.
Done.
Let us know where
Yeah,
you're watching.
we're having a great show today too.
Now it
We're
looks better
talking
on-
about virtual
Actually, it
reality,
looks great.
360 cameras.
Yeah, that monitor is not
and,
right.
and
Yeah,
the
don't pound that
business
monitor.
flow and how all of that works. And I am, this is good because I'm really not very versed on it at all. In fact, all week long when I was telling people
Yeah.
what the show
If
was
you
going to
want,
be
you
about,
can iris
I'm
down.
going, it's 360 cameras. It's
Yeah, it looks
virtual
great.
reality. Where you can just look all over and see everything. I mean,
Yeah,
I
wait,
did
you
not
never-
have a good
For the
vocabulary.
show, see the shadow here? Right. So next
Yeah.
time,
Oh,
yeah. The next time we need it under
Gary's
light.
fixing his lighting now.
All right.
Come on,
Come on, Gary. We're trying to talk to
Hey.
we're trying to talk to our audience, Gary.
Hey, Bernie. Remember, I
Yeah.
used to work for Barbara Walters. She
Yeah, I
invented
remember
uplight.
that. You know what?
I used to PA on that show.
Until you work for Barbara Streisand, you don't know how to light. I'll tell you
That's
that right now. Yeah, are you all settled in now, Gary? Is it over?
Dude,
God,
hey,
the crew
I was settled in while I was sleeping last night.
The crew is like going, God, I hate this guy 5 minutes before we go
Hey.
on.
Hey,
It's terrible.
Bernie, because of
Yeah.
you, I had to up the rate, and now I got to give him more orders.
I'm glad I could help a fellow crew member out.
Yeah, thank you, Bernie.
Finally. You mean where they don't have to pay you to learn? Is that the upping the rate?
That's a deduction.
All right.
Oh my God. Oh my.
Almost there, gentlemen.
We're almost there. We're almost
Almost
there,
there.
Gary.
Woohoo! Bam,
All right.
we're here.
All right, here we
Let's
go.
do it. Hey, everybody. How you doing? We are here. It's 2:00. Must be Burnie's Applebox. I'm in my warehouse. Gary is in his studio. Tony is at home in his office. And we have a very, very special guest today. I will get to introducing him in just a moment. But Gary, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, real good. I was just drinking a little water here and tastes like vodka for some odd reason. I don't know what the heck happened.
Stay hydrated. Stay.
Real good, Burnie. Thanks for having me on the show, as always.
Well, my pleasure, Gary. Thank you. Thank you. And, we got a special show going to be talking about 360 virtual reality.
Excellent.
And where that is in the marketplace, where it's going, where it came from.
Right.
And this crazy new media. It's not even right to say new media anymore. I mean, everything's new. You know what I mean? It's
Sure.
Media is so much more robust than we ever. What you and I worked for years and years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We had that little pipeline where all the media went through. You were either a DVD, a VHS, or cable, right? Or God forbid you'd get in the movies. And, now it's a floodplain. Just for example, we've been doing this show 4 years, live streaming on Facebook now,
That's correct.
And it's just mind-boggling. And, I was saying to somebody else this last week, and I've said it before, of course, I have lost my ability to discern what is the truth or an untruth in media. In other words, you could come up and tell me something, go, oh, yeah, they can do this. You know what I mean? And I would have no way of knowing whether that was a fact or not. Before, most of my life, you could keep track of what was a fact or not because, of course they can't do that. I can't tell that in media anymore. And it is going at a pace that is completely unbelievable.
Absolutely. And, we brought it up in previous shows, Burnie, that we basically all been down for about 5 to 6 months now.
Yeah.
And that 6, it doesn't seem like that long. It seems like it just, bam, it's a space and time. But now we're all 6 months behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
What's going to happen now? We got to hit the ground running with all the latest technology.
I'll tell you what, and this I'm going to get our guest in here in just a minute because this is exactly what I want to discuss with him. Is that yes, we've been sitting around, but technology has been rocketing ahead. We may not be up on it, but it is rocketing forward. And I come back to this once and every time. Unless you are expanding your mindset, unless you are learning, unless you are making the right context, you will fall behind.
Absolutely. I totally agree, Burnie.
Yep.
Totally agree. So I'm real excited about our guest about to come on because it is a 3D world out there.
Oh, absolutely. Without any further ado, let me introduce Adrian Rashad Driscoll.
Hey, guys.
Adrian, how you doing?
I am doing great. How about you guys?
Very good. Gary's got some problems. I'm doing great.
No.
Well, I heard him say that his water tastes like vodka. And now my beer's tasting only like water, so I don't understand.
Yes.
Oh yeah, drinking is just one of Gary's problems. That's
horrible, Burnie. Horrible. But I'll take that, Burnie.
All right. You're good for that, Gary. Thank you, sir. I just want to let everybody know what Adrian did for me a few months ago, really about the beginning of this whole COVID craziness. Him and I were back and forth on LinkedIn a little bit, and we were, exchanging notes here and there and comments. And Adrian says, look, I've got some VR headsets. would you like to try one? Because I think I made a post on it or something like that. And I go, immediately, I mean, usually on social media, I don't ever meet anybody, number one. That's the rarest thing. I just said, that's okay. And he goes, look, I got 100 of them over here. I bought them out on a closeout or something. Let me give you one and just see what you think of it. So I said, okay, great. We met. And he gave me the headset, gave me some instructions on it, told me how to use it. Arife and I took it home. And I have to say, I was reluctant to pick it up. and I think that most of that was like age, cultural, a little bit of intimidation, And of course, as usual, my wife picks it up, puts it right on, and starts dialing it in, And she said, "You got to look at this. Look at this." So I put it on, and sure enough, I got hooked on it, and I started watching. And of course, then that big flood of potential hits. Hey, what if you could do this? What if you could do that? What if you could go here? And I really sort of understood the headset world at that point. And of course, and Adrian, you will speak to this, I always associate it with gaming. I always associate that with gaming. And what I saw was not gaming. I saw a lot of other potentials in there. Can you just, first of all, tell us what you do, Adrian? I think that'd be the greatest way to start here.
Sure. So, I'm a storyteller by nature, but to this date, I've become an immersive media expert. So I create, I consult, and by expert, I just mean a huge nerd. I'm way too fascinated by it. And, as Burnie, you and I spoke about, I'm a student. I constantly learn and try to see how I can expand my knowledge. And then I pass that on to those who I consult for or work with. So we've used this medium so many different ways. And it's seeing that it really is the empathic machine. It's letting you do what you can't. We fought homelessness with this medium. We've taught religion with this medium. There's so many different avenues that this can be taken. And one of the biggest things is, making people adapt to it and not being afraid of it.
Yes. And where are we at in the process of where what you just described is at? I mean, when would you say it really sort of started in earnest? How old is the technology? Where are we at in the process?
So, I've been in this for 7 or 8 years myself. So the technology has been around, but you have to refine it. Like, think about how big a cell phone was however many years ago, and you have this big, massive device. And now, you have something that fits easily in your hand, in your pocket, and it's a full computer. So it's been there. It just needed some years for technology to expand and evolve. And now that it has, it's very, very close. Facebook has done a phenomenal job of connecting the dots, and COVID has done a phenomenal job of saying, look, you guys are at home, you can't hang out. So how do we reconnect, through that? So it's very close. I say by this time next year, it's going to have a huge adaptation.
Yeah, Burnie. Burnie,
and tell me, go ahead, Gary.
Oh, I was just going to say that a good friend of mine I grew up with, being stuck at home for 5 months, and he said to me, "Hey, did you pick up your VR headset yet?" And I go, "What for?" And he said, "Buy one." I go, "What's the deal?" He said he was totally blown away because he goes to Burning Man every year.
Virtual Burning Man.
And I guess they created a Burning Man atmosphere, and he said he's in his house, and literally he can land and talk to all of his friends that usually go to Burning Man live.
Wow.
Everybody's in the Burning Man land, and then at any time he can push a button on his controllers, and now he flies up into the air and he's looking down at Burning Man, and he's got a fear of flying. So he literally is scared to death. So you are virtually in that land. So I said, well, I'm going to go buy one. Not a chance. You can't buy them anywhere, Bernie. So that's the push
amazing.
Now. That is the push.
They're sold out everywhere.
Right, Adrian? Yep. They're sold out.
Yep.
That's
well,
crazy.
And tell me how does Facebook play into this? Is Facebook the 800-pound gorilla in the room right now with this technology?
Absolutely. I mean, so Facebook has such a powerful platform to where they've literally connected billions of people. And with that platform, now they're saying, well, you can connect in new ways. You know, Burnie and I can both put on our headset and go travel to Peru right now without buying a bunch of tickets and wearing, 800 disposable masks on the way. And it's showing people that you can connect. And Samsung had a model, is do what you can't. And that's really what you're doing. You're doing what you can't. Right now, we can't interact the way we'd want to, but now we can share an experience. And Facebook's really, really pushing that with, now it's Facebook Creative Labs, I believe, but it was Oculus, at the time. But there's only a few. There's a few big gorillas. You have Facebook, you have HTC, and then you have PlayStation VR, but that's more on the gamer side. Yeah. Facebook is pushing the social connectivity, in my opinion.
What was the middle one you said? I had not heard of that.
Oh, HTC? Oh, HTC is huge. I mean,
and tell me about what they do.
So they've also created a headset experience, and it's more on the, I'd say it's more for training and enterprise and very high resolution, high fidelity experiences, but theirs is also a phenomenal headset. And you have two people really, really pushing it for the top level. That's Facebook and HTC. And then you have PSVR, everybody has a PlayStation, really boosting the, adaptation. So it's working really well altogether, I think.
Yeah. What are some of the business models? And let's put gaming aside for the moment, because I think it's very apparent. But what are some of the actual business models for headsets, for 360, and where that is playing in?
So, I mean, one of the biggest things is going to be training. How do I teach you how to do something to where you truly retain it? You're talking from automotive to schools. I can tell you about Julius Caesar for, hours, and you may only kind of understand it. If I show you a movie, if you like the movie, you may hold on to it a little more. But if I take you to Rome in a headset, and I let you see what happens, then your mind is that convinced, even if it's animated, your mind is that convinced that you were there and you remember it.
Yeah. And you know what? I had that. I remember you telling me that before I had looked at it. And then I experienced it. And where I experienced it the most was on that African safari that they went on, and they went up in canoes, and I'm telling you, I remember that like I was there. And there is a difference. There is a difference from seeing the movie to feeling it, because when you can turn your head and for no particular reason, just check out what's around or look directly behind you, it makes a huge difference in retaining that. I was surprised at that, Adrian, honestly, how big that was. When those elephants came up almost into camp, you know what I mean? And you saw them, and they didn't know which way to go, and they were looking, these guys were right in their path. The camera was right in their path. Right. That was like you felt tension. It was for real.
Bernie, they were looking for peanuts.
No, that's in our industry, Gary.
That's right. That's my rate. I work for peanuts.
Right.
There you go.
Hey, Adrian, I work for a major utility company here in Southern California. Mm-hmm. And speaking about training, they got to train some of these guys to be way up on the power lines. So with 3D, the VR goggles, they're able to actually stay in the classroom and not having to do the training up on top of those power lines. And with their hands reaching out and grabbing and bolting, that was a real big win for that utility company. They're doing virtual training classes.
Absolutely. It's such a powerful medium. And I mean, right now we're looking at the enterprise, but I mean, I worked with, we partnered with United Way some time ago, and they had the money to build homes. They had the money, but the residents of the neighborhoods were like, well, we don't want homeless people living near us. So we created a 360 experience. And since then, over 12,000 people have received homes. And to be a small part of something that big and for their efforts, it's like, wow, this is really the empathic machine. It's a very, very strong tool to tell the story.
Wow. No, that's very impressive. Very impressive. So in the world of 360, what is the biggest challenge right now? Is it adoption? Is it the equipment itself? What are some of the headwinds that are going on with virtual?
I think adoption is an excuse. You have to. No one would have believed in bottled water, when they could drink out of the hose years ago. No one would think everybody has a computer in their pocket. No one would have a cell phone because they were sure that it was going to fry your brain. No one's going to have a microwave. All of these things took time to make everybody see their use. I think one of the biggest things is people don't understand the difference. See, I'm a creative and I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
So I understand the technology and I also understand the creative part of it. Not everything needs to be in 360. So when this came out a couple of years ago and when it became popular, I'll say, people said, oh, hey, this is going to make me $100 million. And that's not the case because not everything is an experience that you want to go to. So you had people that only knew story trying to use 360. And it's like, I don't need to see this in a headset. How do I justify messing up my hair? Oh, this is when I had hair. But how do I justify messing up my hair and putting on a headset or my wife messing up her makeup, when it's something that would have been just as good, on a 2D screen. And on the other side, you have people who are doing amazing technological advances in this, but they don't know how to tell a story and it's boring, So my superpower is marrying the two together. And I think more people need to focus on what it is. It's story. Does it need to be shot with a red? Does it need to be shot with a cell phone? Doesn't, it's like picking your camera. Just because you have a Monstro doesn't mean you can shoot a great picture. That's just, so it's understanding when and when not to use it. I think it's the biggest hurdle that we have to figure out.
Gotcha. Wow. And you know what? We have talked and we had I've really enjoyed our conversations and as a fellow nerd, I enjoy meeting another nerd who will let me rattle off with my wacky ideas that, have already bored my poor wife to tears. You know what I mean? In many cases. But you let me rattle off and we've discussed back and forth about things going on. And I know I'm not bringing you anything new. But talking about the future and where we sort of, where that VR experience goes from here, and I'm just going to say this. And I heard this from someone who had a friend, right, who works for Facebook. And he was talking to me about the fact that soon through Facebook, you may be able to put on the virtual headset, almost live in a avatar world, if you will, make phone calls, take pictures, write. And I think they've already come out with the writing part of it. That was just recently, and that was since he told me it. And even watch 2D, watch television, watch programming and stuff like that in that virtual world with other people and your friends. Now, is that the way we're going? Is that what you believe could happen or will happen?
I I get this a lot because I think that's a fear that people think we're going towards. And there's nothing like the real thing.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah.
You know, watching something in an environment in 360 or a VR environment, you want to be able to do something you can't normally do. You know, and if you can't go to a movie right now, then yeah, it's absolutely beneficial. You know, movies are something that people can do very, very affordably. You know, if there's something on a larger scale, it costs, you know, a couple hundred or a couple $1,000s to do, then you can do it here. That's also beneficial, but it's not going to replace traditional television. It's not, you know,
Right.
it's there's nothing like the real thing.
Well, you know, you use the word fear. That surprised me a little bit. I'll tell you, because I think you probably have maybe and get this maybe a little more lashback or pushback maybe on things that people are afraid of losing, quote unquote, right? I mean, I don't have that, and I never experienced that when I'm talking about this subject, you know. However, I would see it's more of an enhancement, frankly, to be honest. If you want to experience something with one other person or 4 or 5 other people, and you could go to a virtual shop with the headsets on, have an experience, and interact. I mean, I think that's great. Another thing that and here again was something I drive my wife crazy with, but you know, I love to add my own little funny lines when we're watching something on TV. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Throw that little line in there. And so many times I've heard, can't we just watch this? Can't we just listen to this?
Yeah.
And, you know, if you were a group of guys, I know if Gary and I were together and probably the 3 of us were together, we'd have little one-liners all over watching something like that, right?
Yeah.
So something like that, watching something in 2D, almost like Mystery Science Theater, if you ever remember that,
Yep.
you know what I mean?
Sitting right in front,
Yeah. So experiences like that, I mean, that is what I could see as being just like, you don't have to leave your house, and you're certainly not going to go to a theater and be cranking all that out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or even going over to somebody's home and driving, you know, their spouse crazy. You know what I mean? I would really see a way of grouping people together in that.
And I totally agree. It is an enhancement, and people. Well, the only reason I even use the term fear is people think that you're trying to come in and take something that they've got so comfortable with, so used to doing a certain way, and it's like, no, let's go do it that way. That's cool too. You know, that's fine. But now here's another way to do it. You know, here's another. Us talking like Mystery Science Theater style would not be acceptable at a theater. It would not. Want to throw us out. So that's again something you can't do, or you're not supposed to do, at least. So it's just providing additional opportunities.
Yeah, Burnie. You know, a quickie comment is first a quick shout out to Tony. Thanks for the great broadcast, Tony.
Oh, Tony.
Yes.
Behind the scenes guy.
Thank you, Tony.
Tony. And
thank you, buddy.
You guys might be the nerdies. I'm the tech guy. And just a quick question for Adrian. You know, I saw a guy out in Monterey Bay and walking by, and I go, wow, look at the size. What is that camera? And sure enough, it's a 3D camera. And I go, wow, that's pretty cool. So on the tech side, when you're setting up a scene, do you put your camera in the middle of the scene? Where do you set your camera up if you're shooting a scene? Just out of curiosity.
So personally, when whenever I'm doing a picture, I want to make it feel as realistic, because the camera is now becoming the viewer. Yeah. You know, and I think a lot of people for the longest time were setting up their small 360 camera in the middle of a table, you know, of people eating. Well, you don't sit in the middle of the table. Well, you're not supposed to. You know,
right.
So one time at Thanksgiving, but I was drunk. So, but no, like you're not supposed to sit in the middle of the table. Yeah, you know. So you put it where a person would feel natural from that perspective.
Gotcha.
And that's kind of where we're shifting to say, okay, look, we can both be in the scene together. Maybe in traditional 360 video, I can't talk to you here, but you're going to feel like you're there still, instead of putting you on the wall where you're sideways and you're like, I don't really feel connected. I just feel, it's a big disconnect from the story. And
Gotcha.
That's what it's all about. So yeah, always from the person's perspective.
From the person's point of view. And then what about editing? When you're seaming everything together, is that a long process at that point once you get the footage dragged in?
It can be and it can't be. For me, it's not a long process anymore. It's, it's knowing how to, it's like you guys putting something up. It's knowing how to do it, but it took a long time for it not to be. But when you're stitching all these different pieces together, sometimes there was light shining in one lens and it's like, okay, I have to adjust. And it's figuring out, it's post-production. It's always a headache. It's always a nightmare. But, luckily we've taken a little bit of the headache out of it though.
Very cool. Tony. Woohoo!
Awesome. Good one, Jerry.
So it's usually pretty quick if a person knows, or if the client knows what 360 really is. I own over 100 headsets, so I can just, ship a client a headset and say, look, this is what we're ultimately going to try to do. And then we go into doing our previs and things like that, which you can also do in 360. So it makes it a lot simpler. From there, usually a week or two, and we're shooting and we have pretty quick returns as well. So hopefully that explained it.
Yeah. I would like to ask about budgets. What is the budgeting like compared to there is no typical shoot. So, but let's just say compared to 2D.
So there's a few things you have to consider. There's a certain amount of tools that you need in order to make this a proper picture. You can't light it traditionally, so that's something different. You can't, and if you do light it traditionally, there's a lot of work in post. You have to consider that as well. The biggest budget pieces are from post, making sure that I have all these pieces polished, looking great, and it's significantly less expensive than shooting a normal feature or a normal picture. But, a lot of people try to do it for $500, and it's like, okay, go ahead, go ahead and do that. And then they come to me and say, oh, well, hey, I don't know how I got here. And it's like, okay, well, that's going to cost you $40,000 for this little bit, because you try to cut corners early on.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So your most of your projects go in the, give me an idea, $40,000 range, 20, 60?
Between 20 and 100, I think, is where most of my projects are. It really depends because it varies. I did the United Way project basically for free. But if anybody's watching, that's not really a price I talk about often.
I wanted to book you, Adrian. I was ready to call you for that budget.
Oh yeah, my number is blocked. But no.
1-800 don't call me.
Exactly. Yeah, you've heard it. Yeah. So my commercial. But no, it's really about how much you want out of it. Usually the return, they want something. When clients ask you for 8K, it's like, why do you need 8K? The deliverable 720. They said, no, I want 8K, and it's like, okay. You get an 8K price then. It's just more information to process later. But from between 20 and 100 is a normal, small budget, and then if we're going big, we go pretty much usually under $500,000.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice. Very nice.
Gary's already got his credit card out. He's ready to go.
Yeah, we take cash too.
Slide. Hey, Adrian, with the COVID deal going on and no concerts, no live events, what do you see coming up in the future to try to drive concerts back where maybe they can do a live stream and everybody at home can wear a virtual headset and watch the concert live stream?
Absolutely.
Is that something that's going to happen?
Absolutely. Now that the technology is getting there, live streaming, now it just goes into a bunch of tech things. How do we make sure that we have the bandwidth, the bit rate? It's a bunch of nerd stuff that I love, but I'm not sure if everybody in the audience will. But it's getting there.
That's
people
great.
need their music. People need their entertainment. People need to say, look, it's Friday. I'm tired. Let me go do something fun. So entertainment is the one thing that never goes away. It just adjusts and it has to adapt. But yeah, definitely live stream VR is huge.
Yeah, and what I like about that idea is I can finally get out of the cheap seats and get right up front.
Right.
Because I've never had front row center, right? That would give you the front row center feeling.
Absolutely. There's, even looking at what NextVR did, they were giving people the NBA courtside seats, and most people never get to experience that.
Right.
So it's a very powerful thing, because if you've always wanted that, that's great. It's good for some, not good for everybody. But now it's like people have nothing. So it's really adapting to that, and live stream is going to be huge.
Wow.
Or huger,
Very
I'll
cool.
say.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Huger. Yeah. Well, Adrian, you and I had several conversations concerning streaming from events. And is anybody, and I know, let me just ask you this, and this is a question purely out of ignorance. Does Next VR, do they own the sports arena? Is there anybody else competing in that? And next question, because everybody is talking about missing the game and not being there, are they doing anything to push the headset viewing of all these games that have no audience in them?
I say yes and no. So Apple bought Next VR. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, Apple bought Next VR.
Okay.
So we don't know what Apple's going to do, because they're Apple. But no, there's a huge, and if you hear the players talk about it, there's a huge disconnect not having people there. You need people cheering you on and rooting for you if you're an athlete. I need people cheering on, rooting for me, and I'm not an athlete. So it's a different scene right now. But we're slowly getting there, and I will say that I've seen a lot of advertisements really pushing, from the professional sports sides and different sides. I don't know that they're loyal to any one medium. They just want what's going to be best for the audience and for their fans. So I don't know if they're just like, hey, Next VR only, or they're like, hey, the next VR, if it's better, then, and I see that. It's like, what do you want? A Mercedes or a BMW? I want whatever I like more, at the time.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Hey, Burnie, for Adrian, I'd like to know, if somebody wants to get into 3D filming, what would you recommend, a small little 3D package and editing package along with it? Just out of curiosity, what would that run them? And would it be easy for somebody to get started and move forward with that application?
You definitely have to be a masochist. You definitely have to.
It helps to be not too bright, too, probably.
Yeah. No, there's actually some very, very strong setups already out there that are consumer based and very easy to get into. Insta360, I've worked with them for a long time, and I've seen what they've put out. you can get an Insta360 1X or the 1R, and you can create some really solid experiences right now. And, you know, that's going to set you back probably about $400. And they have a stitching suite that you can do from your phone, and it's good enough for you to start creating, you know, and they really promote you on their platform. If you want something consumer level to get, you know, a professional style, you're probably looking at about 10 to 15K to start, you know, which is any low level professional camera, I think. So it's pretty comparable. And then if you want a very, very top level camera, you know, you're looking at considerably higher.
Yeah. Wow.
You know what? That actually seems like it's a pretty reasonable kind of financial model. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
If you want to just get into that sort of prosumer level, you know, at 15 grand, I mean, I would think you could monetize that somewhat easily, you know, with the right client. We wanted to see your camera. We want to see what you use and show us that and then tell us what it can do and how you use it.
Sure. So I personally used my Jaunt 1.
Wow.
24 individual cameras, so 24 images to stick together at one point. And I mean, natively it can shoot 8K up to 120 frames per second. So it's a monster. It's a lot of information at the end, but you know,
8K 120 frames a second.
Yeah.
24 cameras.
Yep.
How much of a mother load of storage do you need for that thing?
Oh, it's so much information. But you know, ultimately you're figuring out your shot. You're not going through as many things because you're watching in real time. So you're not going through as many bad takes. And, you know, as long as you have the proper setup and say, hey, look, you know, take 4 is what we're going to keep, then all of that coincides. You're not searching for all of this. So it's not too bad. And then I go into Mystica or one of the higher end programs and stitch it together. And then you have this beautiful, beautiful image.
Yeah.
Does each camera record on an SD card? Each camera?
Each camera.
What size are the SD cards if you're shooting in 8K?
Yeah, so let me see. Let me actually pop one out.
Wow. I bet you have a lot invested in the SanDisk. Well, yeah, there you go. That's it.
SanDisk 64. Yep.
So on a 64 gig card, how many minutes can you shoot in 8K?
So there's a live feed, so I can just do as much as I want depending on my disk space instead of doing individual card space. And that's usually what I do. But I mean,
makes sense.
It depends. Usually I don't even shoot 8K 120. I mean, you know, 8K 60 is fine. You know, 6K 60 is fine. That's pretty much the highest level you can go right now is 6K. You know, you have people like Pimax who have very, very high fidelity headsets, which are more expensive, but they're like beautiful. They can do 8K, but most people just can't do it yet.
Wow.
That's incredible. I just find that amazing. So let's talk about the workflow now. So you go and you say, okay, it's take 4. We like that one, you know, and tell me about putting it together. And you said the biggest part of the money and expense is in editing, correct?
It is. Absolutely. Okay. You shoot for post, and I mean, I think everyone should really do that. Everyone should be ready to shoot for post. Most people don't. You know, most people just jump out there and shoot something, and it's like, you know, the measure twice, cut once. It's, you know, measure 10 times, cut once is how it should ultimately translate. But when you're on set, you're hiding things. How do I hide a mic? You know, it's like if I'm doing Game of Thrones, there's not going to be a boom by a dragon. It shouldn't be. And now you can see everything. You know, so how do I direct this? How do I get the proper sound? How do I make sure there's no Starbucks cup in medieval times? You know. it's making sure you do these things, because until you see every angle, it's really easy to miss something.
Yeah.
Wow.
Until you put it all together, it's like you can look through, 24 cameras and say, wait, is that? No. Or you can wait till you get back and say, oh, I missed something.
Wow.
And have to go reshoot it. And that's where the money gets eaten up.
Yeah.
Having to
say, Adrian, have you ever experimented with your camera and mounting it on top of a drone and lifting off and flying it around, just out of curiosity?
So with other cameras we have, this one weighs about 20 pounds or 24 pounds. So it's like, I won't, you don't want this on.
Of course.
But no, we've shot drone stuff. There's what's it called? Apex. I think it's Apex. And they work with people with special needs. And, we're doing drone footage at the beach and these beautiful, beautiful shots. And it's just like, it's insane. It's gorgeous.
Wow.
And it's doing something you can't. You have a bird's eye perspective. And you really feel like a bird. That's, you can't normally do that. So, the drone shots are gorgeous. And now we have opportunities to, it's like adding a drone in any traditional. Now you can do something you would need a crane to do before. And now you can, do it more efficiently and, of course, less expensively.
Yeah. Because I've got a Mavic 2, and I brought the headsets, the VR headsets through DJI. And I tell people, I said, hey, have a seat while I fly you around. Oh, I don't need to sit down. And sure enough, they fall down.
Yep.
Because once they're blocked out and all they see is they're the pilot, basically.
Yeah.
And literally, I've had people just grab the seat and sit down because it feels like you're piloting the drone.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not natural. It's phenomenal, but you have to get ready for it. And you have to get used to it. And that's one of the biggest things. It's like, I wasn't ready for how realistic this really is.
Yeah. Tell me about lighting. We have discussed lighting a little bit, and is it, obviously if you're out in the world in nature, it's natural, right? Tell me about tell me some of the solutions that you've approached in shooting in interior and for dramatic pieces.
You're telling me my secrets. Okay. No. So, the best thing you can do is natural light, just like anywhere else, But when you get indoor, you find practical lighting. You do soap opera lighting. You have the light hiding behind the couch, and you have it diffused, so you can't really tell, where the source is coming from. Or you do some kind of real light that's in the scene that you try to paint out later, but it's not easy to do. It's like, oh, wait, this doesn't look good now. Oh, we should have done that. And that's one of the biggest things is lighting. And that's why so many people cheated. And I call it cheating because that's what I think it is. They went to a VR 180, where they have a stereoscopic, but you only see this much. And I'm like, if I only see this much, what do I want a headset on? I want to see what's behind me. Like, I can do that with a normal TV. So lighting has always been a challenge. Audio has always been a challenge. And that's what we're here for. We're here to face these and fix these challenges. Let's fix issues instead of running from them.
Yeah, Burnie.
I agree. I think.
Oh, I'm sorry, Burnie.
No, go ahead, Gary.
I'm just wondering, on a feature film, do you think they might shoot a scene twice, where they're going to shoot from, of course, the camera point of view, the old school style, let's say, and then they'll run the scene again with that virtual reality camera, yours, in the scene, put it in the scene. And now you got a choice. You can watch it in 1D or 2D at home, or you can wear your VR and now you're sitting in the room watching the actors act.
Absolutely. So there are times that you shoot it twice. Ideally you want to shoot it once and have the camera hidden. You can mount these upside down. There's not really a limit to what you can do to keep it out of the way.
Right.
But, on a scene, it goes from you being able to shoot it with the camera there to you having to get rid of everyone that's giving direction. So that's one of the biggest reasons, because, where's Video Village? Where's the director going to sit?
Yeah.
And these are things
Right.
that people are very, very used to. But
Right.
we're definitely getting there. It's becoming relevant on bigger productions, and it's just gonna spread very
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah. Hey, Tony, I just wanted to ask you, are there any comments? I'd like to hear some if there are any.
Please.
And questions, anything anybody has come up with? Okay. Oh, cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Adrian, this is one thing too. We are all freelancers. We're all our own businessmen. Gary and I have been battling this conundrum forever. How do you get people to know about what you do? In other words, how do you advertise yourself and tell people about your expertise? How do you go, especially when you're working, as we said earlier, too, when we were talking, you work 16 hours a day.
Right.
How do you approach that for yourself?
I mean, and you do a great job of it. Everyone knows what you do. And right now, it sucks. COVID has affected everybody. There's no denying that. But no one has any reason not to be reaching out to whoever is in their respective industry. If you want to talk to that CEO that you usually have 20 gatekeepers, they're home now. There's no reason for you not to talk to them. Everything else is an excuse. And I mean, that's what I've been doing. I'm like, look, I'm talking to presidents of huge banks and, huge companies. And it's like, why wouldn't you? This is the perfect opportunity. But you have to stay relevant. You have to say, look, this is what I do and this is what I do well. And then you have to be able to back it up. Because I hear a lot of people calling themselves VR experts, but they don't know the difference between VR and 360 video and stereoscopic and monoscopic. And, and I'm like, oh, expert's just one of those terms, huh? It's like, oh,
yeah, right. Right.
Expert, huh? To where I put disgusting hours into it. So it's like, you ask me a question out of left field. I'm like, yeah, so this is how you do it, or I be able to figure out how to find out that answer. So,
right.
But no, you have to market yourself because no one's going to buy you if you're not marketed. That's, you can't,
That's
no one's going to buy your product and you're a brand.
Yeah. So is there any place that you go specifically to talk about VR? How often are you posting? Where do you post at? And I know, but as I ask the question, because this is true of everybody, you always feel, oh, I should be doing more. Everybody feels like that. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? Yeah, but where do you go to? What groups are you in or things like that?
Yeah. So, I mean, you're right. I feel like I should be doing more because I have a huge following and a huge platform to be showing this and educating people for, but I don't, I do Facebook a lot. I'm in a lot of Facebook groups. My Instagram, I'm sure we can find somewhere to put it, but it's Driscoll, Driscoll. So Driscoll, yeah. It was Dr. Is Cool when I was a kid. So it's just, yeah, please judge me. It's fine. But no, I think LinkedIn is the most slept on platform. By far the most slept on because you have Facebook where it's like, it's personal. So if you talk to someone, it's like, I don't want to talk to you because I'm putting pictures of my kids at Christmas up there. Instagram,
right.
People are doing things for likes and there's a lot of vanity metrics. So you can't usually get there. LinkedIn, you're talking to real people who are really working and it's so slept. I mean, I didn't use it until maybe 3 years ago and I quadrupled my net worth because of it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I have been having, of all the social media platforms I have used, and I started 2008 with Facebook, I think like a lot of people did around that time. LinkedIn is absolutely the best engagement, real people, And for me, business wise, real deals.
Yes.
You know, there's people that can make the decision, do make the decision,
Right.
and they want to work with you. And I'll tell you the most amazing thing of meeting you at this same time frame through LinkedIn.
Right.
And you have no idea the amount of people that right now I've actively talking to about working deals, making deals and going into projects together. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, Adrian, Burnie and I, we just pound the pavement. We just tell people social media all the time. So, Adrian, how important is it if, let's just say you didn't do social media? Is it 50% of your business you'd lose, or business that could come in? Just tell, there's a lot of young viewers, they don't get it. They just don't get it that you gotta social media to get the jobs.
You got to advertise yourself. Yes.
It's, social media is a commercial you don't have to pay for. There's really no reason not to be promoting yourself there, because it's so powerful. You create engaging content, you talk about engaging subjects, and you'll be engaged with money. I mean, people will throw money at you because you're an interesting person, and I've had so many deals that just came through, like Bernie said, because of LinkedIn. It's like, oh, you have to really look at all your channels. And I mean, I don't really push doing hybrid social media. A lot of people do. Me personally, I'm like, look, find where your audience is at. You don't have to be on every new platform. Find out where your audience is at. Find out where the engagement is the strongest, and then just really, really push that.
Great.
Focus on that. And then if it's like, okay, well, I need to post here, here, you're really just posting what you made for that platform.
Great.
That's great advice.
Excellent.
Great advice.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So Adrian, how do people get a hold of you? How and what sorts of projects should they call you for? What are you taking on?
So I used to get a lot of projects about, people wanting to do tours, and I'm like, look, I want to do creative. I want to do things that are engaging and really pushing the medium. If you have a project you're, kind of iffy about, you should call me. Because it's like, I'll tell you straight, hey, look, why are you doing this in 360? Why are you doing this in VR? Where's the justification? Because I don't want you to spend your money and then hate me. I want people to come back to me, as they often have. But LinkedIn is always the easiest way to get me. I actually do read my messages. If I respond to you, it's me, not one of my assistants or something. It's me. So I actually do read my messages on LinkedIn. So yeah, Adrian Rashad Driscoll, and you should be able to find me.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Great.
And what's coming up next? What's in your world next?
We have a life-changing project that we're currently working on. Can't give details. I wish I could. I'm so excited, but it's really, really big. It is in the VR space. We're also moving towards a lot of big virtual productions, which is different. This is, using a computer generated scene in the background, almost like a green screen would be, but very, very high fidelity with, real talent. And it's saving you millions and millions of dollars ultimately on production. How do you go build Greece? How do you build Atlantis? Well, now computers are strong enough to let you work together with the talent and do that. So we're really focusing on a lot of virtual productions, and of course, it's keeping people healthy and safe, which is going to be the most important thing.
That's going to be great. Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
Very nice.
Is this with a big LED screen, or is it something that's composited for specifically the 360?
It's a combination. We have some things that are in 360. We have some things that are in 2D, traditional style. It's really just figuring out the most effective way to tell the story. And now we're able to take smaller budgets and tell greater stories. Before it was like, oh, these three people have budgets. so they can make the pictures. Now it's like, okay, well, you have a smaller budget, you have a great story, we can still make a great picture.
Oh, that's very interesting. Very
Yeah.
interesting.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And how can people, so you say LinkedIn is probably the best place to get a hold of you, right?
Absolutely. I mean, if you guys want to shoot me an email, it's Adrian, my first name, at Driscoll, my last name, entertainment.com. So that's pretty simple. But yeah, LinkedIn, I'm on there way more than I'll admit. So yeah, that's definitely the best way to get a hold of me, I think.
That's awesome.
Great.
Well, I'll tell you what, this has been one of the most informative shows in the 4 years that we've been doing it. And
Thank you.
we could
you,
obviously,
Adrian. Thank you.
obviously fill up a whole nother hour with this subject matter. We're going to have you back on, Adrian,
Yes.
too. Definitely, because we want to make this a part of the discussion on this format. And it's just really, really interesting. I so thank you for taking the time and joining us today.
Thank you both. I'm
You know it.
so happy to be here. You guys are hilarious, and it's definitely
you.
a fun time. Thank you guys so much.
You know it, Adrian. Thank you. Appreciate that.
That's what our 6th grade teacher said, too.
Yeah, that's why I got kicked out.
All in the same boat.
Yeah,
Right
yeah.
on, right on.
All right, my man. Thank you
Thanks
so
again.
much.
Be safe.
Yeah.
Be
All right, you
safe.
guys, take care,
Thanks
and
again.
we'll speak soon.
All right, we'll see you then.
Okay.
Gary, thank you, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony, in the house.
Tony in the house. Absolutely. Thank you, Tony. And we'll see everybody next week, 2 o'clock, Friday, Burnie's Applebox.
Be there. Be there. Be
All right.
square. This way.
All right. See ya. Bye-bye.